Title: I almost gave up on being a dad. The intro. Hook: I almost gave up on being a dad. I was so overwhelmed, so convinced I was failing, that I truly believed my child would be better off without me. I'd reached my breaking point. And then, in one single, unexpected moment, everything changed. This is not a story I ever thought I would tell. It's not heroic, it's not pretty, but it is honest. And I'm sharing it because I have a feeling I'm not the only one who stood on that edge, crushed by the silent weight of fatherhood, believing the lie that your family would be better off without you. Section 1. The Why. The Secret Struggles. It didn't happen all at once. It was a slow burn, a death by 1,000 paper cuts. When we found out we were expecting, I had this perfect picture in my head of the dad I was going to be. The provider, the protector, the rock. Society drills this into us from day one, doesn't it? That a man's worth is measured by his ability to carry the load without a single complaint. I felt this insane pressure to be the unshakable foundation for my new family, especially as the financial anxiety began to pile up. I thought strength meant being a fortress, showing no cracks, admitting no weakness. But behind the walls of that fortress, I was crumbling. What I didn't know then is that something like 1 in 10 new fathers experience paternal postpartum depression. It's real, and it often peaks 3 to 6 months after birth, right when you're supposed to be hitting your stride. This wasn't the baby blues people talk about. It wasn't a gentle sadness. For me, and for a lot of men, it showed up as something else entirely. It was a deep, simmering irritability, a short fuse, a cold, hollowing anger that would flare up over the smallest things: a dropped bottle, heavy traffic, another sleepless night. I would pull away, isolating myself to keep from lashing out, which only made the loneliness worse. My entire identity felt like it was being erased. The person I was before, the guy with hobbies and friends and a sense of self, felt like a ghost. I was just a machine for working, earning, and surviving. I remember catching my reflection in a dark window one night and feeling a jolt of shock. The man staring back looked haunted, exhausted, and completely unfamiliar. I was just existing day to day, trapped in a routine that felt both endless and suffocating. The worst part was the profound loneliness, the feeling of being an outsider in my own home. I'd watch my wife, who was going through her own immense struggles, hold our baby with a connection that felt ancient and completely inaccessible to me. It's a common feeling for new dads, this sense that you're invisible, unnecessary, a supporting character in the main story. Everyone asks about the baby. Everyone asks about the mom, and they should, but nobody asks the dad how he's doing. There's an unspoken expectation to just be grateful and suck it up because you didn't go through childbirth. So you stand there sleep-deprived and overwhelmed, and you just nod and smile. It all came to a head on a Tuesday. I remember it was raining. I got home from a brutally long day at work, and I just couldn't go inside. I parked the car a block away from my house and sat there in the dark, watching the rain streak down the windshield. The thought that had been a whisper for months became a roar. They would be better off without me. Without my anger, without my stress, without the dark cloud that followed me into every room. I felt so fundamentally broken that my very presence felt like a poison. Have you ever felt that? That feeling of being so convinced of your own failure that you believe your absence would be a gift? I sat there for an hour, completely convinced it was true. Section 2. The Climax. The Turning Point. I don't know what made me get out of the car. Maybe it was the cold seeping through the door. Maybe it was some flicker of duty that hadn't been stamped out yet. But I walked home, unlocked the door, and slipped inside, hoping to be invisible. The house was dark and quiet. My wife was asleep, completely worn out. The baby monitor was silent. For a second, I felt a wave of relief. Maybe I could just get through the night without failing at one more thing. But of course, that's when it started. A small whimper from the nursery that escalated, quickly, into a full-throated cry. My first reaction was rage, not at my child, at the situation, at myself. It was this hot, acidic feeling in my chest. Of course, another failure. I couldn't even keep the house quiet for 5 minutes. I felt like a bull in a china shop, a destructive force in this delicate new world. I walked to the nursery, my shoulders tensed up to my ears, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. My mind was a loop of resentment and exhaustion. I was on autopilot. Go in, pick up the baby, rock the baby, put the baby down. Don't feel, just run the program. I reached into the crib and lifted my son. He was crying hard, his little body stiff with distress. I held him against my shoulder and started the mechanical, joyless rocking. I was a robot performing a function. I wasn't a father. I was just the thing that was there. And then it happened. His crying stopped. Not gradually, but all at once. There was a shuddering little breath. And then silence. For a few seconds, I kept rocking, confused by the sudden quiet. Slowly, I pulled him back to look at him. His eyes, wide and dark in the dim glow of the nightlight, were just looking at me. Not with anger, not with need, but with a kind of deep, peaceful curiosity. And then he did it. He lifted his tiny, clumsy hand, and he laid it flat against my cheek. It wasn't a grab, it wasn't a push. He just rested it there. His palm was so small and so warm against my rough, unshaven skin. In that instant, the entire world stopped. The fortress I had built inside myself didn't shatter with a thunderous crash. It just developed a crack, a tiny hairline fracture. And through that crack, for the first time in months, a single drop of warmth seeped in. The rage didn't vanish. The exhaustion didn't disappear. But the story I was telling myself, that I was a monster, a failure, a poison, it faltered. Because in that moment, I wasn't the broken provider. I wasn't the angry shell of a man. I was just his dad. And he wasn't a problem to be solved or a task to be completed. He was my son. In his own silent, innocent way, he saw me. He wasn't judging my failures. He didn't care about the bank account or my job. He just needed me. And he connected with me. Section 3, the revelation. The new understanding. That moment didn't fix my life. The bills were still there the next morning. I was still exhausted, but it changed the narrative. It saved my life by changing the story I was living in. I had spent my whole life believing that strength was about being impenetrable, an unfeeling, unwavering rock who could provide and protect without ever showing a single crack. But I was wrong. That little hand on my face taught me that true strength isn't about being unbreakable. Real strength is showing up when you feel broken. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's holding your child when you, yourself, feel like falling apart. I realized my value as a father wasn't measured by my paycheck or my performance. It was measured in my presence. I learned from a 4-month-old in a dark room what studies now confirm. An involved father is a pillar for a child's emotional development, their confidence, their sense of security. Even on the days when I felt emotionally bankrupt, my very presence was an investment in my child's future. I had been so obsessed with providing for him that I forgot the most important thing I could possibly give him, myself. Love isn't a performance review. It's not about perfection. It's about connection. That one tiny, inexplicable moment of contact was more powerful than a balanced budget or a perfectly clean house. It was the raw, unfiltered truth of fatherhood. It's not about what you do for your kids. It's about who you are with them. It's about letting them see your humanity and in turn, being reminded of your own. Section 4, the universal truth and CTA. If you're a dad out there and any of this feels familiar, the quiet desperation, the anger, the anxiety, the crushing weight of feeling like you're failing at the most important job you'll ever have, I need you to hear this. You are not alone. Our culture has conditioned us to suffer in silence, to see struggle as a personal defect. It's not. It is a shared human experience. The pressure to be the perfect, stoic provider is a lie that is stealing our fathers, our partners, and our friends. Your worth is not your performance. Your value is not your paycheck. It is your presence. It's in the messy, imperfect, beautiful moments of connection that you build a life. Those are the moments that matter. So if this resonated with you, I want to ask you to do something. Leave a comment below. You don't have to share your whole story, but even just writing, "I've been there," creates a space for other men to feel seen. We can be the community for each other that we all so desperately need. Being a dad is the hardest thing you will ever do. It will break you open. It will push you to limits you didn't know you had, but it will also rebuild you into something stronger, more compassionate, and more profoundly human than you ever imagined. I didn't get saved from being a dad. I was saved by being a dad. That little hand on my face didn't just pull me back from the edge. It showed me the way forward. And if you know a father who you think might be struggling in silence, who might be lost in the dark, consider sharing this with him. It might just be the crack in the ice he needs. Thanks for listening.